Good morning, Steve Free in Chicago with the morning grain comments. Well, overnight, grain prices are mostly lower. After a day like yesterday, especially with some big gains in soybeans, soybean meal, and corn, new highs in soybeans and soybean meal, there is a tendency for the Tuesday after to see some profit taking, especially in front of tomorrow's USDA report. There's also an old saying at the Board of Trade that you have to keep feeding a bull market at least daily or maybe twice a day. There's not a lot of new news out there. China came back in and bought some U.S. old and new crop beans yesterday. Grain inspections were pretty much in line with some of the trade guesses, maybe a little bit lower than some people thought in the beans. And also the wheat exports continue to lag the pace to meet the USDA's numbers. We also note that we seem to be getting away from concern or some kind of war premium between Russia and Ukraine, although Russia continues to have a large amount of troops on all the Ukraine borders, adding troops in Belarus. Some people, though, feel that if there is an invasion, it might be after the Winter Olympics in China. We also note that people aren't looking for much of a change tomorrow in the USDA numbers as far as South American crops are concerned. Maybe only down 4 million tons in corn and 10 million tons in beans. We've seen some private numbers as big as 15 million tons down in corn and maybe 25 million tons down in beans. And again, that's something that we have to see on a daily basis. New business for corn and beans shifting. And as far as U.S. prices of beans, we are competitive to China April forward. And so there's also talk that Brazil might run low on corn supplies before their next harvest. In South America, we might actually see some rains in Argentina late this week and on the weekend, but a drier trend follows that. So we'll see how much rain we actually see. But I doubt if it really helps the current situation in Argentina, and continued dryness in southern Brazil and Paraguay will reduce those crops further than what some people are talking about. Continues to rain too much across central and northern and eastern Brazil, slowing the harvest there and probably reducing the quality of the beans. So here in the United States, we've got dryness in the southern plains. The western half of the U.S. temperatures are above normal, while the eastern half are below normal. There is a front that comes across the plains and lower Midwest. Right now, the American model has some precip in Kansas, also in parts of Oklahoma and Texas. The European model, though, is much drier and has most of the rain in the eastern part of the hard red and wheat areas, and then brings precip more in Missouri and the Ohio River Valley, while the American model has some precip for Iowa. So it's 30 days before we actually start trading some dryness across the southern plains, but we're also watching some dryness in Western Europe and the northwest part of Africa, and we'll see if that has any impact on wheat demand. So again, we're looking for more bullish news after a big rally on Monday. I still think the market's corn, beans, wheat, meal, and oil are undervalued as we go into the spring. And a lot of that has to do with what is actually going to happen to our demand figures and what's going to happen to weather.